I hereby call the meeting to order. Communication by Rotarian Rashmi Anil.
Sorry, last time I missed it, so I wanted to use the opportunity this time. We pray, Almighty God, that you bless this assembly with good acquaintance and fellowship. Guide each one of us to prove useful to the community and country in which we live, and advance national and international understanding, goodwill, and peace through the Rotary ideal of service above self.
Thank you, Rotarian Rashmi Anil. I request IPP Ravindranath Kamath to recite four-way test.
Am I on mute? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of the things we think, say or do.
Of the things we think, say or do.
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it bring goodwill and better friendship?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you, IPP Rotarian Ravindranath Kamath. So little bit announcements are there. We had given monthly medicines to Chunanambeli on 12th July. That it was left out to say during the last speaker meeting. Then we had our Interact installation yesterday in our house. It was a fourth Interact installation, and my son J.R. Keshav Tyagarajan is being inducted as president, installed as president. It was a small and grand function. We laid live through Google Meet. Rotarians Rashmi Anil, Mohan Ramachandran, Jills were present, Anil was also present, and interactors were there. Next was on the same day, our secretary attended a training on e-reporting at 7:30. He told it was a good experience. I wish Jills will share a few words on that. Jills?
There was this meeting on e-reporting which was convened by the district secretary, Kim Varghese. So it was informative in the sense that I really didn't have a clue about how this e-reporting works. So basically, it's a very nice website which the district has made. It's called RID 3201. And in which all members can go and access there is a profile given, and anybody can log in with your email ID and your password. The password is RID 3201 itself. And then you can actually go and see, you can change your address, your photograph, all those things. You can see.
Jills, we can't hear you properly. You'll have to speak up. Speak closer to the mic. Exchange the headset.
Hello? Yeah. So this e-reporting is done through the district website 3201, and then there are these provisions where the president and secretary can update whatever is happening in the club. And also, in fact it's a nice place where every member can actually go up and see what is happening in the district also. So I think that almost all secretaries would know about this. I'm just new to it, so that's why I'm writing it nice. And slowly we'll have to update things.
Thanks, Secretary Jills. And one more request from our RI district as well as RI that all the Rotarians should log in myrotary.org. That is very, very essential. Please, those who are not registered, your mail ID is your user ID. So please register in myrotary.org, and if possible, you can share your first initial screen of myrotary.org with me in my personal window. That is a small request to all the Rotarians. Next is yesterday I attended membership seminar, Rise Plus. It was a very good eye-opening seminar. Thing is, where our club or our district is going regarding membership retention and new membership addition, the statistical data were alarming. If possible, I will share. I had taken the pictures of those data. If possible, I will share in a separate meeting, so we will know and we will discuss how we can increase the membership and retain the members also. Yesterday, RID Rotary International Director elect A.S. Venkatesh spoke. He spoke in a good way. It was nice and enthusiastic also. Similarly, R.C. Deena Chandran of Madurai Metro, I think so. He has also thrown light on the statistical data. And Suresh Matthew of the neighboring district PDG, he made a good presentation. And last, Ajay Goyal, he also made the presentation. All of them, though the meeting schedule was a little bit late, they rushed up and gave enormous amount of statistical data, which is worthwhile to watch, to investigate and to improve. That is the thing. And I request Balu, Rotarian Balachandran, Past President Balachandran, to give a small intro about our speaker of today, Dr. Sai Kumar. Balu?
Jayaraja, President Jayaraja, and all the Rotarians who were in the meeting. I am extremely sorry that I have not prepared the biodata or something. It was not told to me. But as far as
Balu, sorry to interrupt you. I want you to extempore. That's all.
Okay. As far as I know about him, he is one of the leading eye specialists in Cochin City, as well as one of the leading eye specialists in Kerala itself, and who is doing more number of surgeries compared to any other eye specialist. And he is associated with our club many years back. And he was associated in various community service projects like various eye camps.
Balu? Balu?
Is it only me or can you hear him?
No. His video got stuck.
It's okay, Jayaraja. I think we
okay.
can. Yeah. When
Okay,
you tell me to start, I will.
Right. Now the floor is yours, Doctor.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll just share my screen.
Okay.
So before I do that, it is a great pleasure to be here today evening. And as I mentioned before, it took one virus to get me back to a regular meeting of Rotary Club of Cochin East. Most of the people on the screens I know, maybe one or two I'm not I don't know very closely, only a few people. So I take this opportunity to thank the President, Secretary and Office Bearers and all the members of the club for having given me this opportunity to speak to you today about a very relevant topic as far as ophthalmology is concerned. So I'm going to speak to you about what we in medical parlance call as computer vision syndrome. So we all know that the COVID has really changed the way it has really changed the way that we work in our respective vocations, and people all over the world are spending more and more time with their computers, their mobile phones, their laptops. So long uninterrupted hours of digital usage has actually led to the term called computer vision syndrome. Now this term is not a new term because it has been there for about the past 10 years, ever since the long hours of computer usage all around the world. Past 10-15 years, this terminology has been there. But now it has been thrown into more prominence because our entire lives are actually now revolving around one digital device or the other. So what exactly is computer vision syndrome, or in common language you can call it digital eye strain? This is a group of vision-related problems that occur due to prolonged usage of digital devices. So excessive and improper use of these devices can cause both ocular as well as musculoskeletal problems to an extent that it affects your day-to-day activities as an individual. So that is when we really take cognizance of that. Till that time we feel that this is part of our daily lives, but then when it affects your vision, it affects, start getting neck pain, back pain, that is when you really look back and see what wrong you're doing. And some studies have shown that the actual prevalence of some form of computer vision syndrome is as high as 75 to 90% among people who are using computers for a long period of time. So what are the common symptoms that one can come across as far as the eye is concerned? You can get recurrent headaches, you can have eye strain, not able to see clearly, blurring of vision in spite of wearing your glasses, and symptoms of dryness in the eye, which manifests in the form of redness, burning sensation, grittiness in the eye, or heaviness in the eye. So basically your eye feels very tired, you're not able to carry on your work or your entertainment activity without strain, and that is when we really call it a computer vision syndrome. The visual symptoms are usually temporary. However, there are some patients who continue to have visual symptoms or worsening of visual symptoms in spite of stopping the prolonged usage of this digital device. And increased digital screen time has also been identified as a potential risk factor for progression of short sight in children. Now, a word in particular about myopia or short sight in children. Even if you look at our school days and you compare it with the present school days, the number of children wearing glasses has definitely increased. And it was a matter of concern all around the world, but then generally people thought that it is more and more children are reading more books and they are more into academics, and that is why the myopia is increasing, although there was no concrete evidence to that. Now, a few countries like Singapore, China, Hong Kong, those are the countries where you have a very large number of children who wear glasses. If you land in Singapore, you will find that if you are not wearing glasses, you are probably an exception. So that is the very high amount of short sight you see there. And they have actually in the past 7-8 years led some very large community-based studies on short sight, and they have found out that children who are glued to the computer screen or reading or digital devices definitely have a higher chance of myopia compared to children who are more playing outdoors and doing more outdoor activities. And this has been very clearly medically proven now. So earlier we used to just mention it as anecdotally that it is because of reading, it is because of computer and things like that, but now it is very well proven that if you have more outdoor activity, your chance for progression of short sight is much less. So these are the common symptoms that one comes across in computer vision syndrome. Lack of focus on while reading or while actually looking at the computer screen is one very important symptom that many patients do complain that they are not able to read properly. So what are the causes for this computer vision syndrome? One is obviously excessive use, and then the very common question that I'm expecting from all of you: what is the ideal screen usage? In fact, there is no scientific data to suggest that this many hours of usage should be there, or anything above a particular number is harmful to the eye. There is no concrete data on that. So whenever you feel that you are getting tired, you can't take it anymore, I think that is your threshold for computer usage. There are people, youngsters, who use the computer for about 12-14 hours a day without any symptoms, and there may be others who can't do it for more than 5 or 6 hours a day. So that is your individual threshold. Over and above that, poor seating posture is a really affects your musculoskeletal system. Improper viewing distances, improper viewing angles, like you sit, you actually look at the computer screen like this, or look down too much so that your neck starts getting start hurting your neck. So somewhere around the same view or slightly below your visual view will be the ideal way to look at the computer screen. And environmental factors like very dry air conditioned room can also increase the chance of dryness in the eye, and also increase the chance of these symptoms which are related to computer vision syndrome. Lighting is another thing that patients do commonly ask, what is the ideal lighting that I should be sitting in, and things like that. If you have a large amount of glare coming from some light source, a window or an artificial light source behind your computer screen, it is probably not a good idea. But a uniform illumination of the room would be ideal, and the total darkness is also not very ideal, because then your screen becomes very brightly lit. So somewhere, if you have an ambient light in the room which is somewhat similar or somewhat soothing to your eye in comparison to the light source from your computer or your laptop, I think that will be the ideal lighting in a room. Now, some small difference that has been shown in studies about book reading and reading from a digital device is the concept of pixels. We all know that a lot of pixels are joined together to give your screen illumination and all the letters there. The pixel is brightest in the center, and as it goes towards the side, its brightness decreases. Unlike a printed letter, which is uniformly, when it is printed, the color, the ink blackness is uniform. So even small refractive errors, like a small amount of short sight, a small amount of astigmatism, any refractive error becomes more pronounced in a digital use compared to the book reading. Now, one of the important causes of dryness that has been found by various studies where you use cameras to look at the people who are using the computers has been what is called a reduced blink rate or incomplete blink. So blinking is a normal, natural phenomenon. We don't do it consciously, it is done unconsciously. There are certain blinks per minute, which is about 15 to 20 blinks per minute is considered normal. Excessive blinking is also not good. It shows there is some irritation in the eye, and obviously blinking with one eye is also not very good. So an ideal blink response is something that is very, very essential. And when you are looking at a screen for a long time, doing something, very important work, your blink rate comes down, and that causes significant dryness on the surface of the eye. And just the lack of blinking itself can actually cause a transient short sight, because you are not focusing your muscles to various distances. You are just fixed on a particular distance, and your eye muscles sort of get stuck in that distance. And then after some time, when you want to look away, you feel that things are not very clear. That is because the muscles take a longer period of time to relax from that particular position. So there are certain diseases in the body which causes severe dry eye, like rheumatoid arthritis, thyroid disease, and certain drugs like antihistaminic, oral steroids, increased consumption of alcohol. So these are all certain other causes which can cause significant dryness. And if you have your computer vision syndrome or factors which cause this, along with one of these, then your symptoms are much more than a normal person. So how do you deal with it? Limiting the computer and screen time definitely has a dramatic impact on computer vision syndrome. But at the same time, in this present world, especially nowadays, I don't think you can tell anyone that you shouldn't be looking at the computer or you shouldn't be looking at the mobile, because that is our lifeline now. So reduce it to a level where you are comfortable. So frequent blinking of eyes, take frequent breaks from work. I mean, this is about people who are prolonged computer usage, not like people like us, because in my clinic, when I see patients, I just use my computer to enter the patient data. So I'm not a very long, although I use it for a significant period of time, it is not continuous. It in between seeing patients, operating like that. But people who are, really working on the computer the whole day, there is something which is called the 20-20-20 rule, where you are supposed to stop every 20 minutes, look far ahead. 20 feet is just a offhand number. It need not be exactly 20 feet, but look away from your screen, look towards a distance, look out of the window, relax your eye muscles for at least 20 seconds, if possible slightly more, and take frequent breaks in between your work, so that your symptoms are definitely reduced. And your position, your ergonomic position is very, very important. These are all general guidelines. It is not that from tomorrow you should exactly be having your screen exactly at this distance from your eye. But these are general guidelines where an arm's distance with a slightly downward gaze of about 10 to 15 degrees is supposed to be the most ideal ergonomic position. Use a keyboard where your arms and wrists are in a neutral position. You don't have to put too much, stress on your arms. It should not be too much to the right or the left of your, because in some occasions you may not be able to put the computer directly in front of you. For example, if you're in a bank, you're in some financial institution, your computer is to one side, and you may be directly speaking to your client. So don't have it too much to one side, so that you don't have to turn around and tilt your chair too much to have a look at the computer screen. This is somewhere it is called the ideal way to sit. Have your back upright, your knees at 90 degrees to your thighs. These are all ideal ways in which you are supposed to sit. But practically, I think all of us do change positions and in between, slightly recline and do things. But as long as these steps are followed, your musculoskeletal issues related to the computer usage is definitely going to reduce. If you have not done so, you can probably modify your workplace or wherever you're sitting at home, because now everyone is working from home. So use a chair which is designed, which gives you adequate support for your back, for your legs, your buttocks and your arms. The adjustment should allow the user to slightly recline about 50 degrees this way or that way. And laptops and mobile devices, probably this exact number doesn't hold good, because quite often you tend to use these slightly closer to your eye than the fixed desktop computers. So children who have to be educated as to how long they should be using it. Now there is a lot of jokes in the WhatsApp, that earlier we used to tell the children not to sit in the computer. Now we are asking the children to come and sit, because all the classes are online. So these are things that we cannot wish away. But then giving breaks in between, probably going out and having some outdoor break would be a good idea to prevent these symptoms. So the brightness of the monitor also, I think, is, as I mentioned before, has to be adjusted. And for different age groups, you may require different intensity to work with in your computer screen. Avoid too much of screen reflections. Don't have a light behind you which falls on the computer screen and you have to strain to look at it. And there are certain things called anti-glare covers which are available. And also make sure the air conditioning is just ideal. Don't let it blow directly onto your face so that you don't get symptoms of dry eye much. Now, one thing that I usually advise my patients, people who are above 45 or 50 who are using glasses for their presbyopia, is that once this computer thing has become very common and people are using it very often, I think a single vision glass for the computer is a very good idea. So normally what we do is we have bifocals. So bifocal can either be bifocal with two different glasses with a line in between, or you can have what is called a progressive bifocal where you don't see the line, but actually the power of the glass progresses as it comes down. But when you're using a progressive or a bifocal, what happens is your computer distance is your reading distance or slightly above, away from that. So you can't view the computer through the glasses above, and what you do is you tilt your head like this so that you are actually viewing it through the below portion which is designed for the reading. So after some time you start getting neck pain, you start getting slightly ear pain, and your position is not right, you start getting headache. So what you can do just for the computers, unless you are in a vocation where you have to look at the face of your customer and come back to the computer screen and vice versa. If you want to do it too often, then it becomes slightly difficult. But other than that, if you're looking at a computer for a long period of time, a glass like this, which is a single vision glass, which is designed just for the distance in which you are looking at the computer screen, will be very ideal, and so that you don't have to tilt your head or anything, you just look straight at your computer screen. Routine eye checkups, if you have any of the symptoms that I mentioned before, you should have routine eye checkups because it might be the initial symptom of something else. If you are a diabetic, it may be early diabetic retinopathy which is causing blurring of vision. You may think it is due to computer usage, but it may be something else. It may be an early cataract. It may be due to eye pressure or glaucoma. So whenever you have these symptoms, don't just dismiss it and say, no, it is corona time. I'm looking at the screen for a long time. That is why I have a problem. So please don't do that. The other things can also coexist, and that also has to be kept in mind. Once you make sure that you don't have any other symptom, if you don't have any other problem and it is just the computer vision syndrome, the first step or the most important thing that we advise to patients is to use a lubricating eye drop, because dryness causes most of these symptoms, and lubricating eye drops help in about 70 to 80% of patients, along with all the ergonomic things that I mentioned, the use of air conditioners, the ergonomic position of when you are using computer screen. Along with that, lubricating drops do definitely help. And one thing which is probably not mentioned too much in textbooks and things like that is to hydrate yourself well. That is what I again advise my patients, because when you sit in a dry room and it's quite cold, you don't feel very thirsty, but you go for hours together without drinking enough water and dehydrate your body, and that itself can cause many of these problems. So hydrate yourself well. There are two advantages. One, hydrating yourself gives enough hydration to all the tissues, and second thing, once in a while you are forced to take a washroom break, so that also gives you some time to take your eye off the computer screen. So in conclusion, computer vision syndrome is a reality that we have to face. You can't run away from it, and I am actually predicting that even after all these COVID situation changes, many things that we started on the digital platform now is going to continue. And even our routine meetings, I am president of the Cochin Ophthalmic Club. We used to have 2 or 3 meetings every month, and every meeting is now on either Zoom or one of such similar platforms. And now everyone has started suggesting that from now on, even if everything gets back to normal, you can have 1 physical meeting and maybe 2 or 3 Zoom meetings. So that is the way things are going, and so we have to accept the reality. So you should know what is the threshold of your eye to this prolonged usage, your lighting, the way you are sitting, where you are sitting, all those things. And prevention remains the main strategy. Modification of ergonomics, as I mentioned before. is a very, very important way in which you can prevent most of these symptoms. And once again, I take this opportunity to thank the President, Secretary and Office Bearers of the club for having given me this opportunity to speak to you. And I'll be most happy to take a few questions regarding what I've spoken. Thank you so much.
Dr. Sai.
Carry on. Hari, carry on.
Yeah, this watering of the eye, is it any frequent watering of the eye?
Yeah. In fact, actually, it is a paradox. The general feeling is that when you have dryness in the eye, there is no watering. So many patients who come with watering, in fact, have dry eye, because watering, if you see, there are three components to it. So normally you need some amount of moisture in your eye, and that is called a baseline tear secretion. That is something that we don't notice, but our eyes are always moist, and it is this moisture that gives you comfort. Now, on top of that, there are two other components. One is you develop watering in the eye if some particle or some dust goes into your eye, and you develop dry spots in the eye. That also causes watering. So it is actually a paradox. So actually, watering itself can be one of the presenting symptoms of dry eye, and just because it is watering does not mean it is not dry eye. So that also has to be taken care of. So that when we examine the eye in the microscope, we will know whether this is a watering due to some particle inside the eye or secondary to dryness.
Okay. Thank you.
Dr. Sai is here.
Yeah.
You talked about how this affects by VR sitting at work. The other thing is that about how children use mobile devices. So when children are using mobile devices, especially handheld devices, mobile phones and iPads, how does that actually work? Is there any standard?
In fact, no. I mean, there is no medical literature, or that's why I said the distances and all slightly different for different people. Most of the work on computer vision syndrome has been done on desktop, because the present situation that we are in now is a recent phenomenon. Basically, computer vision syndrome was described for IT professionals who were sitting in front of a desktop computer the entire day, not even laptop. So that was all the initial scientific work and medical work, ergonomics, everything was designed for that. Probably we'll have more, good data coming in about handheld devices, about mobile phones coming up. But my suggestion is that if you can, I think even for children, for their classes and all, it is always better to have a slightly larger desktop screen and have them use that, rather than moving around with their mobile phone. Mobile phone is good for occasional messaging and WhatsApping and watching a small video clip and things like that. But if you're sitting in front of the computer for a prolonged period of time, you're doing a 2-hour class on a computer, I don't think a mobile phone is a great idea. So whenever possible, I think desktops or maybe comfortably placed laptops should be encouraged. Although in fact I'm not aware of any scientific data to tell you regarding the exact healthy distance where you should be holding.
Dr. Jairaj here.
Yeah.
I think they say in the mobile that yellow light, blue light, whether it is correct or
no, it is actually just to cut off the extra brightness. Now, if you look at most of the mobile devices that we have now, you can have low power consumption, yellow light and things like that. These are basically to cut down the glare and cut down a very bright source of illumination. Other than that, I don't think the color really makes a big difference as far as eye strain is.
Whether eye irritation will happen if we see the blue light more.
Again, I don't think there is any data, because even there have been large studies done following cataract surgery, because there are various colored lenses that are available. because there was a time when the yellow-colored intraocular lenses, there was a lot of studies that it prevents macular degeneration, retina degeneration, and things like that. And there were, proponents of the yellow lenses. There were also people who thought that if you cut off too much of the, blue light by using yellow lenses, it causes sleep disturbances, it causes, some psychological changes and things like that. So there are, controversial data regarding that. I don't think the color of the screen or the actual hue of the screen really makes a big difference as far as computer vision syndrome is concerned. There are a lot of data for other things like retina changes and things like that. But for the eye strain related to computer vision syndrome, I don't think there's enough data. Of course, slightly, if you can reduce the illumination a bit, it feels more comfortable for your eye rather than having a very bright light source. Other than that, I don't think it really makes.
Yes,
Ishajan here.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, this night lab, trainers.
That's 100%. Because your eyes are closed, and if you don't have enough moisture, small dry spots develop inside the eye. You won't feel it when you are sleeping. On top of that small dry spots, there are some cells called epithelial cells. They get, when you open the lid, the cells get, dislodged from their original position. And you have small raw areas in the cornea, and that is what you feel as, particles or something inside the eye. So if you can lubricate your eye well before you go to bed, I think it's a good idea, so that, if you get up frequently at night, it won't cause any symptoms. In fact, in patients who have severe dry eye, we advise lubricating ointment. We have gels and ointments available that you can apply at night so that your entire eye is well lubricated during the entire night.
Doctor, after the introduction of the LED lights, we read it in Philip's recommendation that daylight is better. Daylight tubes, no, LED lights.
That is your area, sir. I'm not very sure of that. But apparently the LED lights are more soothing to the eye compared to the CFL lights. But that is what I understand. I don't have any. Glare is less for LED lights.
Finally, I think doctor, before concluding, we would like to hear a stanza of your old song.
Hey Sai, this is Pradeep here. I have a
question. Hi Pradeep.
You spoke about that special glasses for the computer, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm using a progressive, is that required?
No, it depends on whether you have an anti-glare coating on your progressive or not. If you are using a normal progressive glass, the cutting off glare from the screen definitely helps. If you have an anti-glare coating on your progressive glass, it probably doesn't make much of a difference.
Okay, that is about the glare. I'm talking about the positioning. You said that,
Yes, definitely. Because even if you are wearing a progressive glass, it is the lower portion of the glass that gives you more vision for near.
Okay.
So when you are looking at a computer screen, now basically earlier days we used to have only normal bifocal, which means you have one glass for distance and the lower portion is for reading. And you must have noticed that there is a small line, either a round or a horizontal line, which divides these two. So those were the time when the visual needs were only two. Either you had to see for distance or you had to read. Now the visual need has come to what is called intermediate vision. So now we have distance vision, we have intermediate vision, and we have near vision. So for intermediate vision, your normal bifocals will not work because you have to tilt your eye like this and go near to the screen to see. Now, the progressive glasses were actually designed to take care of the problem of intermediate vision. So if your desktop screen is placed quite far away, you can escape with your progressive glasses without much of tilting. But if you are using a laptop which we obviously use slightly closer than a desktop, or if you're using a mobile device for a longer period of time, then you are at a slightly shorter distance. And then you have to definitely tilt your head slightly up to be able to see through the lower portion of the progressive glass, which is designed for near vision.
Okay, got it. Thanks. Yeah.
Doctor, general pressure pressure is it due to sugar?
Entities, there is no connection. Systemic hypertension and ocular hypertension don't have a connection. Although there are some diseases where bangara blood pressure goodite kanninath blood vessel blockage varam. It is called central retinal vein occlusion, and that can secondarily cause increase in the eye pressure. That is a secondary cause for glaucoma, but primary glaucoma is not related to systemic hypertension. There are two different entities. You can have patients in which both coexist just like that, because both are diseases of the elderly. But then there is no direct correlation between systemic hypertension and ocular hypertension.
Any other questions?
Okay, one more final question.
Yeah.
This is something to add on to taking away from what Shavatam was asking. He asked about daylight and maybe like.
Can you hold your mic slightly nearer, Jill? Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
Shavatam was asking something about daylight. In the market, when you go for light selection, we have to get lights, LED lights in warm, neutral, and warm lights. That's basically three kind of colors that is available in the market. And there is daylight. Daylight is same as pure. So it's basically three different colors of artificial light that we have. Any suggestions on what is good for the eye or anything?
I'm not really sure, Jill. I think I shouldn't be making a statement on that. I really don't know. I think that as far as comfort to the eye is concerned, the white light should be better for the comfort. But then it all depends on the ambient lighting. See, if you have, what it boils down to is, if your computer screen lighting is almost at par with the ambient room lighting, it is good enough. If you have a very bright light in the room and a very dimly lit computer screen, that's also not good. And if you have a very dark room with a very brightly lit computer screen, that's also not good. But if you ask me the difference between these three and what exactly is good for the eye, I really don't know. I think I'll have to check up. Probably I'll get back to you with very specific answers for that.
Yeah. Can I have a question?
Yeah, Balu.
Yeah. Nowadays when people do the eye donation, generally what is done is a corneal transplantation, isn't it? Is there any further research on this, like full eye transplant or retinal transplant? No. Anything further has been developed?
No. Nothing. Now, corneal transplantation is still the gold standard, and the difference in taking out the eye is that when I was doing my PG, we used to go and take out the entire eyeball and bring it to the hospital and take the cornea out of that. Now we remove just the corneal button, so that the eye is not disfigured too much in the expired person. That is one change. And second thing is that within the cornea, we have a lot of things called component cornea. So you don't have to transplant the entire cornea. You can take small portions out of the cornea and transplant it. But retinal transplantation, a lot of things are there in the experimental stage. There is something called artificial retina. There are some electrodes placed inside the eye, and part of the electrodes placed inside the brain. For totally blind people, it is supposed to give some light to just navigate around. And there is something called retinal pigment epithelial cell transplantation. One small portion of the retina cells are transplanted into another person. This is for degenerative diseases of the eye where people have night blindness and very poor side vision. So a lot of research is going on, but we don't have concrete, results like a corneal transplantation. So as of now, the corneal transplantation remains the gold standard, and probably in a decade or two, we may get more changes in that.
Is there any stem cell therapy works on this? Anything?
Yeah, the stem cell therapy again works with good medical evidence on the ocular surface, not in the retina. So on the ocular surface, we are doing phenomenal work in stem cells. For example, if you have a chemical injury to the eye where the entire cornea, the entire eye is scarred, you have drug reactions with something called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, where the entire cornea is scarred and patient is losing vision. So these are conditions where limbal stem cell transplantation really makes a huge difference. We actually put what is called amniotic membrane on the surface. Amniotic membrane, if you are aware of some medical, or I'll just explain it is taken from the placenta. Balu may know about it, but maybe not everyone knows about it. It's taken from placenta, where you get, when a child is born, you have the placenta which comes after that. And a part of the placenta is called the amniotic membrane. And we have amniotic membrane which is transplanted onto the eye, which helps the cells to regrow, and before you do procedures like transplantation. So on the ocular surface, we have huge advances in stem cell therapy in the last 10-15 years, but definitely not in the retina, and studies are still sort of rudimentary, and we don't have much to talk about.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Can I ask something?
Yeah.
Dr. Sai. Hi, Rashmi.
Yeah. Hi, Rashmi.
Every day morning I have sneezing. Every day it is there. Just 2 or maximum 3 times. After I do the sneezing, I get an itching of the eye. That doesn't last long, but maybe 2-3 minutes. Is it because my eyes are too dry in the morning?
I don't think so. When you have sneezing, that is part of an allergic reaction.
Okay.
And probably as you get up, something is triggering a small irritation inside your nose.
Okay.
And that is causing it. If it is just a few sneezes and some watering and all, you just leave it like that.
Fine.
I don't think you should be going for any treatment.
Okay, I just get 2-3 sneeze and
you can just leave it like that. You can just leave it like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Major.
Lal sir, ചോദ്യം ഉണ്ടല്ലേ?
Lal, you have to unmute.
Unmute, Lal.
ഓക്കെ രശ്മിയുടെ പ്രോബ്ലം അത് അനിൽ ഓർക്കുന്നോണ്ട് തുമ്മുന്നതാ, വേറെ ഒന്നുമല്ല. കരച്ചിലും അതുകൊണ്ട് വരുന്നത്, അത് ഹൈഡ്രൈറ്റ്നസ് ഒന്നും അല്ല കേട്ടോ.
അനിൽ തൊട്ടടുത്ത് കിടന്നോണ്ടാണ് ഓർത്തോണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്, വേറെ എന്തൊക്കെ ഓർക്കാനുണ്ട്.
പിന്നെ കുര്യാക്കോസ് നീഡ്സ് ടു ഹാവ് എ പക്ക സ്പെക്സ് ബിക്കോസ് പുള്ളിയുടെ പോസ് ശരിയല്ല. ഡോക്ടർ സായി,
Major എല്ലാവരുടെയും പോസ്റ്റ് നോക്കുകയാണ്.
This cataract will start develop. How young?
Oh, it can happen at any age. Normal cataract develops 40s, 50s.
Okay.
But you can have many other types of. You can have a child born with cataract, that is called a congenital cataract. You can have developmental cataract. You can have cataract due to injury or steroid use, which is called complicated cataract. So a lot of varieties are there. The normal cataract.
Is it connected to blood sugar or something? Diabetes?
Yeah, diabetics do develop cataract earlier than normal, but that doesn't mean every diabetic should develop a cataract. On the contrary, it does not mean that if you have diabetes you have to develop cataract, or all cataracts are seen only in diabetics. It's not like that.
Okay, thanks.
Lal, there is this type of this one with alcohol consumption. That cataract is there now.
അത് സായിക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റില്ല. സായി doesn't take alcohol.
But I do see a lot of guys who do. No, there is no relation.
We have only itchy wives.
There is no relation between alcohol and cataract.
അല്ല, സായിനെ ഞാനാ മെമ്പർ ആക്കി. അങ്ങനെ വല്ലതും പറഞ്ഞ സായിനെ ഇപ്പൊ തൂക്കിയെടുത്ത് പുറത്തോളെ.
One final thing, is there any way of sharing Sai's thing today, because for those who missed it, because I really actually want my children to see this.
Being recorded at the first.
Pratibata, is it getting recorded?
Okay, fine, great, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah.
Or I can say, okay. Or if you want,
it's getting recorded. I'll share I'll share the video.
No, Kishore, in that video, will all that write-ups also will come?
Yes,
Yes,
whatever we have seen, it will come.
Okay,
One
great.
more thing, Pradeep Bhata, one more thing. We are also trying to live in YouTube also. I think I'll share.
Great. Thank you.
Doctor, I have a question. Can you just throw some light on this eye donation, how it works, and like what is the funda behind it?
That's a big topic in itself.
No,
Okay.
yeah, if you can just
Yeah, I'll just give you a very
like an organ donation, just simple like that.
If you look at any organ that was transplanted in any human body, if you look at the history, the first one was from the eye. So when you mean eye donation, it doesn't mean that the entire eye is transplanted. It just means the cornea. Now, why is the cornea was commonly used? It's because the cornea has very little blood supply, and because of that, the immune reaction or the rejection chances are quite less. It doesn't mean that it does not get rejected at all. The chances are quite less, and it is a transparent structure. So you just require the transparency in a person who has lost transparency due to various reasons. Due to injury, due to diseases in the eye, due to corneal ulcer, due to post-surgery complications. It can be anything. So when you have a cornea which is opaque or not transmitting light properly, that has to be rectified in the form of a cornea transplant. And like I mentioned before, transplantation is one area which has really leaps and bounds. It has changed in the last 10-15 years because of component cornea transplantation. Just like you have blood transfusion, where earlier we used to take blood and transfuse the blood. Now you can take the blood and you can separate platelets from that, you can separate white cells, you can separate red cells, you can have various things. That's called component transfusion. Similar to
Doctor,
that.
I'd like to interrupt.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to the technical side of it. I wanted to know, like, if we want to donate our eyes.
Okay.
After death or something like that. Like, what is
You just have to go to the nearest eye bank and give your consent form and let your family be aware that you have given a consent form, and the eye bank will be informed at the time of your demise, and use it for someone who is in the waiting list of that particular hospital. So the eye banks available in Ernakulam district, the two major eye banks are, one is in Little Flower Hospital, Angamari, which is a very old eye bank. And we also have an eye bank called the Swarnam Eye Bank, which is associated with Giridhar Eye Institute. These are the two functioning eye banks in Ernakulam district.
Doctor, what is the waiting period now? Like what is the?
We have a waiting list. I don't know the exact number because transplants are done by my colleague Dr. Vinay. He is my cornea surgeon. So we do have a waiting list, and especially after.
Will it run into thousands?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't run into thousands. Maybe hundreds in each eye bank, a few hundreds.
Doctor, I have one question.
Thank you, doctor.
Hello.
Yeah, James, for you.
The long sight and short sight, can it be corrected through a surgery? And
it can be corrected by laser treatment.
And how complex it is, and how
it is not
costly?
very complex. It is not very complex. LASIK is very commonly available. We do quite a lot of LASIK. It's much easier for short sight because that is the age when you really want to get rid of glasses, and the results last for 2 or 3 decades. Now coming to long sight, if you have a long sight in young age, that means if you have a plus power in your younger age, it can be corrected by laser. Now if you get plus power in your presbyopic age, the age that we are all in, it is not a great idea to do a laser, because once you do a laser, your age is increasing and your power is also increasing. So today, if you correct after a year or two, you still have to again wear glasses. So at this age, for correction of reading power, it is not a great idea. There are quite a few procedures which became very popular for presbyopia, but because of the poor result, it all fell by the wayside. So I wouldn't recommend laser vision correction for presbyopia or I won't recommend. But for short sight in young individuals, it is definitely advantageous. And about the cost, there are two types of laser corrections available. One is using a blade which is called a microkeratome, and the other one is using a new type of laser called the femtosecond laser. If you use the femtosecond laser, the cost is about 75,000 rupees. With a microkeratome, it will be roughly about 25 to 30,000 rupees. It's basically the cost of the laser procedure that is involved. The power correction portion is the same.
Okay, thank you.
Doctor, actually, I'm wearing lens. Till like what age it's advisable to wear lens?
You can wear lens till whatever age you want. There is no cutoff. The problem about wearing contact lenses is that after about 15, 20, maybe 25 years, your ocular surface slowly starts reacting.
Okay,
Initially you are able to wear lenses comfortably for 8 hours, 10 hours. Then it becomes slowly reduced. You are not comfortable after 6 hours. So that is the long-term changes that occur on the ocular surface because of chronic usage of contact lenses. By that time, it is better to start avoiding lenses or look for some other alternative, or maybe even switch from contact lenses to glasses if you want. The other option, of course, is to go for the newer, softer type of lenses, which gives you more comfort. And we now even have disposable lenses. So you have daily disposable, weekly disposable, monthly disposable. So a lot of options are available. And whichever is most comfortable for you, you can use.
I'm using monthly lenses only. Is that okay?
Yeah, monthly disposable should be okay. But after some time, if you feel really difficult, then you can probably try and switch to weekly disposable.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Good evening, doctor. Dr. Vivek here. Yeah. I just want. Can you just give some few tips for some emergency any accidents happening at home, especially for kids? What all we should be careful? It's a big topic, I know, but I have some naughty kids with me.
Basically, as far as kids are concerned, there is only one thing that has to be taken care of, and that is prevention of injury. Other than that, kids don't get any eye emergencies. The kids of your I don't know the age of your children, but I'm presuming they're around 10, 15.
Yeah, 10, 15.
Those kids usually don't get any eye diseases. Very, very rare. So all the children who come to us in that age are because of injury or some infection like conjunctivitis or something like that. So injury prevention is basically in 2 or 3 levels. First one is domestic injuries, where you get injured with something your compass or something that you use in your studies, or if you try to help your mother with something, you injure your eye. Scissors that you use at home. If 2 children fight for some sharp object, that can cause injury. So these are the things that you have to be careful about. Number 2 is chemical injuries. So if you are in school, if you are in a chemistry lab, if you are using some acid, be very, very careful. Don't let acid fall into your eye or alkali fall into your eye. In fact, although we feel that acid is more dangerous, in fact the alkali is more dangerous for the eye because it penetrates into the eye much more than acid. So that is the second level of injury prevention. The third level of injury prevention in children of this age is to prevent sports injuries. So if you are playing shuttle and your shuttlecock hits your eye, your shuttle bat hits your eye, cricket ball can hit the eye. So these are the things that you have to look for and try to prevent and motivate your children to be careful. So these are the general guidelines that I can give regarding eye emergencies as far as children are concerned.
Thank you, doctor.
Doctor, ഇപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരുടെ
കൺസൾട്ടേഷനും മുടിച്ചാച്ച്
എല്ലാവരുടെ പാർട്ട് அது കഴിഞ്ഞിட்டு നമുക്ക് கன்க்ளூஷன்.
ஜோக் சொல்றீங்களா ரியலா சொல்றீங்களா?
நிஜமாதான் சொல்றேன்.
അതൊരു പാരയായി പോയല്ലോ. ഇതുവരെ ഉള്ളത് കുഴപ്പമില്ലായിരുന്നു.
കേൾക്കണ ഈ പാട്ടിന് വേണ്ടിട്ടാ വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്തത്.
ലാലിന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിലെ ഗ്ലാസ് കാണിച്ചില്ലല്ലോ. What do you want? Tamil, Malayalam?
Whichever song you are comfortable.
I think we'll dedicate a Tamil song to Jayaraja, our president.
Yes.
Ilaya nila.
Wow.
Purihirathu. Idayam varai nanagirathu. Ula pogum megam kana kanume. விழா காணுமே வானமே இளைய நிலா பொழிகிறது வரும் வழியில் பனிமழையில் பருவநிலா தினம் நனையும் முகிலெடுத்து முகம் துடைத்து விடியும் வரை நடை பழகும் வான வீதியில் மேக ஊர்வனம் காணும் போதிலே ஆறுதல் தரும் பருவமகள் மிழிகளிலே கனவு வரும் இளைய நிலா பொழிகிறது புலா போகும் மேகம் கனா காணுமே விழா காணுமே வானமே இளைய நிலா பொழிகிறது இதயம் வரை நனைகிறது. Thank you.
Oh, super!
Fantastic, fantastic.
Amazing.
You made our day.
Now I request Rotarian Mani Karthik to give a gift and vote of thanks. Mani?
Yeah, sure. On behalf of Rotary Cochin East, I'd like to thank Rotarian Dr. Sai Kumar for spending this evening with us and giving us this quite an eye-opening speech, quite literally. Thank you, Doctor. That was pretty insightful. A lot of things we learned. I think many of us can now figure out why we have dryness in our eyes. Hint, alcohol, but on a lighter note, I'm not sure if I should be proud of myself or I should be worried because, Doctor, all the things you said, pretty much I had to check, in my list because I'm someone who sits more than 12 plus hours in front of the computer in the most awkwardest positions, even though I'm trying to, set up the most ergonomic of desktop and chairs. So finally, my question to you is, I know you mentioned that you should reduce the time in front of computer and as well as apps. And my question is there an app to reduce eye strain?
I don't think there is an app unless you guys develop one. I am aware of an app which stops your work every half an hour. There is an app that is available. So if you install it in your computer, whatever work you're doing, every 30 minutes it will pause and then it will ask you to take a break. It will ask you to take your eyes off the computer screen and come back in 2 minutes. That timer you can set. But other than that, I'm not aware. I think you guys have to develop something and tell me.
Are you talking about the white doctor? You can say that.
But that won't be over in 2 minutes.
But yes, thanks a lot, Doctor, for the amazing session. I think we've all learned a lot. So thank you once again. And thank you to President Rotarian Jairaj for arranging this and all other Rotarians who worked behind this and helped make this possible. Thank you. Have a wonderful good night, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hereby adjourn the meeting for fellowship and dinner. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Good night. Bye bye.
See you next week.
Night.
Bye bye.
Thanks for joining.